It's Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dawg, and this is the Dawg Pound. I need some music. Okay, we've got a tremendous show for you this week. Ladies and gentlemen, car business professionals, I've got two old friends on with me, and I think Bob Okonewski is going to show up from the Massachusetts Auto Dealers any second now. But in the meantime, an old friend, Bob Glaser from the North Carolina Auto Dealers Association. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Jim. How are you? Thank you very much, Jim, for having me on.
Hey, thanks for being here. We got some really heavy issues to talk about today. Are you ready?
I am.
Fantastic. And one of the most talented women in the retail automobile industry, the Horn Automotive Group, April Simmons. Hi, kid.
Hi, everyone. I was just saying pre-show, this is going to be one of those take out your pen and paper and take notes. It's going to definitely be some good education for all of us.
We've got a lot to talk about. And one of the most outspoken executives in the world, the known universe, from the Virginia Auto Dealers Association, Mr. Don Hall. Hello, Don.
Hello, Jim. It's good to be here on your show today and to be in the Dawg Pound, and we'll talk good talk today.
Dawg Pound's going to rock today. And when somebody that is the epitome of rocking, my friend, the BDC queen, the ultimate expert on business development centers and many other things. This woman's held every executive position in a car dealership. My friend, Bobby Heron. Hi, kid.
Hello, hello. I wasn't sure when you were introducing Don if it was going to be me or him till you got to the point. Outspoken is where it's at. But hey, guys, if you're watching, I'm with April. I'm taking notes as well. You should be too.
Okay, I'll tell you, these guys are the star of the show today. Okay, what we're going to talk about today. Automotive industry direct sales to the public by the manufacturers. Think about that a second. And built to order. Is that going to work? Withholding allocations and inventory as punishment? And the agency model. Taking Europe by storm. Stellantis, the Germans are reinventing the car business in Europe and are trying to bring it here. I'm going to start with my good friend, Don Hall. Don, what's happening with those subjects?
Well, you've asked two or three really good questions, but let me start off by saying that I hope that your listeners are indeed listening today. I have believed and spent a lifetime in this industry, 43 plus years now, including many years in the retail business as well as at VADA. And it's about getting involved. And I hope that the dealers and those managers in these dealerships today will listen and, more importantly, act on the words that are being spoken. And Jim, I'm going to stop for a minute because I see my good friend here on the screen from the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Why don't you go ahead, Jim?
Oh, my good friend, Bob Okonewski from Massachusetts Auto Dealers Association. I have been the keynote speaker for your association convention, 6 times, Bob?
More than I can count.
How you doing, big guy?
Every day is Christmas. I'm just happy to be amongst all these titans of our industry.
We got some really heavyweight experts on the show today. So anyway, back to Don Hall. Don, tell me about it.
Well, as we know, these are unique times, but I also think they're extraordinarily exciting times for the industry. If you're holding on to the ways of yesteryear and doing the things that you've always done, it's probably time to consider selling out, getting out, retiring, or moving on to another profession. But if you're looking and saying to yourself, hey, I'm excited about the future. As Bob said, every day is Christmas, Hanukkah, or a celebration. Then these are exciting times because we get to make massive changes to make sure the consumer's needs are being met.
But the dealers are lackadaisical. I have never seen such apathy in the dealer network as I'm seeing right now, Don.
Well, there is no question that's going on. Shame on those folks who are just along for the ride. There's an old adage I used to hear when I was a young man that says, who pulls if we all ride? So car dealers need to be pullers, out making a difference, making sure that the future of your industry and your franchise is indeed secured. Today,
are the franchises in danger, Don?
They are absolutely in danger. You've got 3 association executives and many others that could be on the line today. We're here fighting the fights in your state capitals to make sure in 2023 that the laws are such that can protect you from overzealous OEMs making decisions that radically impact the consumer buying experience, negative, taking out competition, and hurting the franchise system that you've built for more than 100 years as dealers. So yes, we are indeed under attack.
Bob Okonewski, what is the Mass Auto Dealers Association doing to combat some of the things we're hearing about?
I think the first thing that, first off, I apologize for my tardiness. As people know me, if you're not early, you're late. I was just running down from the State House. We had some meetings up there and, the real job. And well, I think first off, you just have to keep hammering away with legislators what we're all about. The economic footprint that we have in the state, in the communities, even nationwide. When you look at it, we're almost 20% of the retail economy here in Massachusetts. We have over 25,000 employees directly employed at the dealerships. There's probably another 25,000 ancillary employees that we support statewide. When you look at nationwide, there's 16,000 dealerships. They're all in communities big and small. They're employing local people. They're the givers to the charities, the little leagues, the hospitals, the veteran centers, the education centers. So the first thing you just have to reaffirm with legislators and regulators what you're all about. You have to tell that story. And, I've said for years, it's not the Teslas of the world or the Rivians that are the problem, that are going to be the problem. It's the legacy manufacturers who are going to take it out on their own. You hear stories all the time from dealers about how some manufacturer told them that they're making too much money. They got to be reined in. The model's got to change, et cetera, et cetera. All the stories that you hear and see. And so first off, you just have to keep on making sure that you have a strong foundation where it matters, at the legislative level, at the regulatory level, and keep affirming that in your communities. And we have a great system of dealers who are big givers in the communities, very supportive of their communities. So if there's anything going to be jeopardized, where does that all go? And that's at a basic, 5-foot level. As you expand out from that, you also have to plan ahead at what is the future of the dealership's going to look like? Well,
that's the show today, Bob. What is the future of the dealership's going to look like?
Jim, you drive around and there's very little product at the dealerships. So any manufacturer who's insisting on a $5 to $10 million build out, these mausoleums, it's ridiculous.
In Europe right now, they're telling the dealers in Europe, you got a 40,000 foot facility. We're going to reduce that to 3,000 feet. And you make a skating rink or something out of the other 38,000.
Well, much like government, will kiss up to the utilities. Where are the stranded costs then? Then there's got to be some sort of stranded cost payments coming back to dealers to cover those investments that they were forced to make in order to stay within the franchise.
There you go. Now that's where I want this show to go. Let's get with the hard facts. We know we're good. We know we've done great things for the community, but what are we doing to fight the current threat, Bob Glaser?
Well, Jim, thank you very much. And my two gentlemen, Don and Bob, are actually spot on. Don, your comments about it's time to fight and it's time to lean in are exactly on point. In North Carolina, Jim, we have a history of 110 years of representing various franchises in North Carolina. And like Bob Okonewski said, we have about—
Don Hall was here for most of those 110.
We have about 35,000 employees. And like I said, we've been selling cars for more than 100 years. And what's important about that is this. All we see now, we see built to order, we see inventory, we see direct sales, we see agency. Think back on the last 100 years. You had a Great Depression. You had World War I or World War II. You had what came out of World War II.
See another recession, Bob. Bob, we're about to see another recession. We're on the brink of it.
I tell you, Jim, and my point is that dealers are tremendously adept to change. And that's what, to Don Hall's point, we need to promote to dealers that it's time to change. To remain the same you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it's not going to work. You need to be ready to change your business model.
So we change our business model, but the manufacturers are still marching to do away with franchise dealers.
Hey, Jim, let me chime in on that for a minute if I can. Look, the answer to me continues to be this, and it takes away the argument from the OEMs. If the customers are having an incredible buying experience, no matter what we've done in the past with our monies and our treasure in the communities, all that's well and good. But if they're having a tremendous buying experience, then at the end of the day, the OEMs cannot use that against us. Meaning we have to make sure, whether it's to the BDC or anything else we use these days, that we have systems that are very customer friendly, that customers can see and feel like they've walked out with the best deal in the world. So one quick comment I want to make on that. Having been in this industry for 43 plus years, one of our weaknesses continues to be is we devalue our staffs that work for us in the dealerships. We need to make sure that our people are the happiest, well-loved, biggest asset we have in our dealerships. It is our people that matter. If our people are happy working at our organizations, then they in turn will make sure the customer has a terrific buying experience.
Now that's Bobby Heron. That's Bobby Heron. Bobby, jump in.
I told you we're supposed to be best friends. So here's the thing, the experience is what the OEM is using against you guys. That's why they bring in vendors and technology and say, hey, this will fix it. But that's not the problem. Yes, that brings an opportunity. But an OEM is just like, Google would be, or Yahoo or Bing would be. They want the result to be what is supposed to be delivered so that a consumer does not stray to another brand. We're looking for loyalty here. And the utmost control in doing that is praising and empowering your people and putting in processes. And most importantly, loving everybody there enough to hold them accountable to what you've put in. Get rid of the shenanigans that are happening and really deep dive into your operations and then implement and enforce. That will make a huge difference for both the customer and the employee. This turn rate is out of control right now, just out of control.
Jim Ziegler, you mentioned the built-to-order model, and it's gotten a lot of press.
Let's talk about the built-to-order model.
Now, here's the built-to-order model. The built-to-order model is a great theory when demand exceeds supply. When supply exceeds demand, and those OEMs have that first car that they don't know what to do with, the dealers are going to look like a pretty good option. So the built-to-order model, in theory, looks good right now, and that's why you're seeing the press. But you let supply exceed demand, and you'll see how fast that model falls.
April, now built-to-order is your subject.
I can't agree with Bob more, and quite frankly, I feel like so much of what's happening right now on the OEM side and a lot of the vendors too has been utilizing the shortage and utilizing the pandemic to push their narrative, right? To say, hey, we want to go this direction. I don't think most dealers give a bad experience. Do I think we need to do a better job?
No, they don't.
Yes. But taking the minority of dealers that are doing a bad job and
stereotype
saying customers really want, this different experience, I don't think they do. And I have the data to prove it. Customers still prefer to come to the store, put their butt in seats, check out a few of them, have somebody walk them through the process, deliver them in the car, set up their
They don't want to see your data. They don't want to see your proof, April. It goes against their narrative.
And unfortunately, I feel like that's what's happening right now. But to Bob's point, when we hit that recession, and I'm sorry, we're going to see a whole lot more of our employees run from dealers. This is what happens when things get tough. They start to go. And so we need to put our arms around our people. We need to work on educating them now. Do it now while we can. So when we get on the other side, we're going to be in better shape. But ultimately, at the same time, I always say you don't know or you don't care. And I absolutely care, but I feel like there's a lot of us dealers that really don't know. We're hearing all of this hubbub, but we're looking to you three gentlemen to tell us, what can we do? What specifically should we be doing? I don't know about you, but you Google search these laws and they kind of look like stereo instructions from 1975.
Well,
you need a repair act to be able to read them.
The Federal Trade Commission.
I would disagree on that. From Massachusetts' perspective, our law is pretty clear. As a manufacturer, you cannot sell directly to the customer. You need a dealer license to do it. And, Tesla's here, and that's what they did. They went out and got a dealer license. So I openly tell everyone, Tesla's lying to you when they're some new model. It's, for the retail.
Farley would dispute that. Farley believes that by splitting Ford into two entities, that one of the entities is not subject to the franchise laws, which is the electric entity.
Well, they would need a change. They would need a change of law here because I know that other entities have tried to set up statutory changes that if they're not selling a particular product through their franchise dealers, and they can go ahead and do it direct. But that would not be the case here. Here, it's anything and all. So
let's talk about built to order. Let's stay on that built to order subject.
You want to talk about build? Let's talk about build to order for a second. All right.
Yeah.
And the manufacturers are driving this, I think, because they're committed to this EV system that everyone is saying is the future. I've said this for years now. Just a basic thought is that no one has proven to anyone that there's enough minerals in the ground today or in the ocean bottom today to be mined. And
they can't beat those slave kids hard enough to mine those materials.
They can't. So right off the bat, they're not going to be able to meet the demand that they're talking about in 2035. No one's talking about the environmental degradation. No one is talking about how they're going to be making vehicles to sit on a lot. So they're pushing, I think, a build-to-order system because they can control their resources better. But when you think about that, you're already seeing it with dealerships, with employees aren't necessarily salespeople anymore. They're delivery people. They're taking care of the end of the deal. And so you have dealers talking about what the future of the employee structure is going to look like. How are they going to operate on payment schemes that are enhanced by commissions here in Massachusetts? You're talking about what is the facility structure going to look like? What is their future revenue stream going to look like? And it's all being driven by the manufacturers trying to destroy the system from within, I think, by going to this system.
The dealers don't see it, Bob. The dealers don't see it coming.
Jim, I think the dealer, when you talk about built to order, I think the Ford Mach-E brought this to everybody's attention, because I know that last year, 2021, we actually passed legislation that prohibited Ford Motor Company from a pure built to order model. And what we insisted in our legislation is that the dealer had to be involved in the administrative fee and in the various fees and the sale of the vehicle and the back end products and setting the price and setting the price of the used car. I think we were one of the first states to do it. I think a couple other states have done it since. But you got to jump in on that built to order model because the dealer has to be involved. The built to order right now, General Motors, we're talking about Ford, but General Motors is also insisting on built to order on their new electric truck, their Lyrica, Cadillac, and several other models. The customer can't do it without a built to order model. They can't buy those vehicles without a built to order model.
Well, and the problem is,
but I think it exposes exactly what these manufacturers sometimes are about. They don't value the dealership network. They don't have respect for the entrepreneur, the man and woman who puts it on the line every day to run a store, hire the employees, make sure the product works, make sure it's serviced properly. They don't have the respect for those dealerships.
No.
They don't have the respect for their own network. And they think they can do it better. Let's see them try to do it better. But just at a bottom line cost structure, for them to try to replace every dealership in the country would cost trillions of dollars in the long run. And they don't have that type of money. They don't have that revenue coming into their model of manufacturing, wholesaling, and retailing to support that. They need the dealers. The dealers need to demonstrate their continued value, not only to the mothership, but also to the consumer base. My colleagues have talked about this. It's all about the customer experience, making sure that the customer is happy, that the customer is getting the car that they need, that they want, that it works, that they know how to operate it. And that's where the dealer is there to do that. The manufacturer is not going to do that from Dearborn or Texas or Japan or Korea. They have no ability to do that.
Well, see, what's happened right now is that the manufacturers have made some secret pacts with some of the bell cow dealers that, hey, we're taking you on the ark. The other dealers are not going to be on the ark. You're going to be safe.
Keep in mind, what I love in this perspective of this conversation is we're coming at it from both the OEM dealership level and the legality level. But, we keep saying consumer experience. The thing is, the reason that other model types have had the ability to come out and build businesses Forget the profit for a minute. Just have the opportunity to even do that. Is the same reason the manufacturer has the opportunity right now to try to sink in and steal it. Consumer demand and expectation is important. And if you don't listen to the consumer and adapt your process and the way that you're doing things, you open up the opportunity for the consumer to want to choose the OEM, to want to choose them. That's what happens. It's prior to coming in. This is a huge problem. This has to be attacked from all of the angles that are there. And right now would be the time for dealerships to both fight, as JB kind of said over here, something about battles and wars. Right now is the time for you to stand up, use your voice, go to your dealer associations, use that voice and lead, but then ask for the funds and the money to actually train and teach and put in processes for your team that do not allow the OEM to grab a customer that wants to come to you.
Don, how you've been particularly quiet over there, Don. What are you thinking?
Well, I have lots of thoughts, but let me address a couple things. First of all, no disrespect to any of my peers today on this call, but the idea that we puff out our chest and say we passed the law in our state and therefore they can't do this or do that doesn't mean a damn thing for the record. All that means is that we've got something we can go to court and spend the next 5 or 6 years arguing about. And so we don't want to give dealers some illusion that just because we passed a law, it is what it is, and therefore they can't do it. That's total BS. They can do it, and they will do it, and they'll break our laws all day long. The issue is going to be, do we have the wherewithal and the stomach in for a big fight? Are we willing to put up our money to fight? And let me give another example about EVs. Everybody likes to talk about EVs. There's a survey right now being talked about by some of my peers. Well, my dealers don't like EVs. It doesn't really matter whether we like them or not. The fact is, and do I agree with it? No, but it's not my choice. The OEMs have made the commitment, and as states, we cannot, as dealer associations, we cannot win that fight by saying customers don't want it. The fact is, they're going to use it against us. Farley wants to say, look at these greedy dealers. They marked up their cars and they don't sell EVs and they don't like EVs. Their own surveys prove it. And therefore, that's why Mr. Congressman, federal law, or Mr. State Legislature, that's why, or Mrs., that's why we want to sell direct, because dealers are opposed to it. No, ladies and gentlemen, as long as the OEMs are going this direction, our best bet is to try to slow them down so they can wake up from the ether. But we have got to be all in for EVs. To
this week,
less than that is dangerous to our long-term.
But Jim, I would just chime in and say, our dealers here, man, I don't know how it is everywhere else, but we're selling everything we've got, whether it's EVs, whether it's crankcase, whether it's ICE, whether it's hydrogen, everything that's coming in is either spoken for or being sold.
Absolutely.
So,
everywhere.
We said to the manufacturers, you're just peddling a bunch of cow hooey because, our consumers, we are meeting the consumer demand with the supply that's available. So a consumer that comes in, they're looking for an EV, we're selling the EV. They're looking for an ICE vehicle, we're selling the ICE vehicle. Plain and simple, the stuff is not being built fast enough. It's not being delivered fast enough to meet the consumer demand. Everything that's
cow hooey. I just wrote that down. Cow hooey. Okay. Anyway, but the truth. Did you get that, Bob?
I did.
Okay, but last week, Joe Eberhardt said that Jaguar-Land Rover is going to sell directly to the public and cut out the dealers, is the way I interpreted what he said. What did you get out of that, Don?
Well, first of all, we're talking about an agency model that they're talking about, and they and Mercedes and many others are talking about.
And he happens to be a German, by the way.
Correct. Look, at the end of the day, there is no bigger fight. There is no more worthy thing for our dealers nationwide to be involved in their state association and for NADA to take on as a subject matter than fighting of the agency model in the United States of America. It will damage the consumer buying experience. It will damage the franchise system.
And the price of cars will go up.
Totally. And the bottom line is that as associations, if most of us don't have specific language dealing with agency model, we need to tone up our language to make sure we've got the right language going into 23 and to make sure that we're passing laws that give the dealers the right in court to slow this process down and to make sure that decisions being made in the future are in fact for the betterment of the industry, the consumers who buy our products, and those who sell our products, not for franchisors, the manufacturing reps who come and go, who retire with their great parachutes one day, and we're still out selling cars 100 years later when these people are long off the scene. So it is very dangerous, and dealers need to get off their ass and get to work on this because it's important. So you got to support your associations. And look, even NADA finally has made the commitment. They're going to be in the middle of this fight.
I want to see NADA march on the battlefield for once and win the battle.
I think you will find that today that their commitment is, when it comes to the agency model, they're going to give the states the resources they need and work with us as a unified body, because there is nothing more detrimental to the franchise system than switching to an agency model in the United States of America. And we ought not to ever allow that to happen under any circumstances. It is not to the consumer's advantage nor the dealer's advantage. And
I see dealers charging ahead and buying all these new stores, and my God.
More reason, Jim, to be involved. You think your asset is worth X amount of dollars? You've got certain multiples. Go to an agency model and
goodbye, Blue Sky. Goodbye, Blue Sky.
Jim, Don Hall said it succinctly. There's the agency model is bad for the consumer. And here all along, the OEMs are saying, hey, we need to protect the consumer, The agency model is a step in the wrong direction. All dealers know that, and the manufacturers will learn sooner or later that the agency model is bad. And I've seen them come back before in the last 25 years. So,
okay, first of all, Bob, the manufacturers are going to fail. They always have failed. Manufacturers do not know how to sell cars. Every time we educate a new batch, they retire, and we got a new batch that tries the same old crap the previous batch tried. So we're not going to win that battle, because every new executive, look at these kids they're sending around to be dealer reps. Well, how old is your oldest factory rep, April?
Not very old, and has definitely not spent. I don't know that I have a rep today that has actually spent any time in the front lines. At the end of the day, and I really want to pose a question to the three gentlemen. My biggest question is this: there are so many people watching the show right now who are maybe not a dealer principal, who are maybe not even a general manager, but obviously have a lot of skin in the game. In what ways are we supposed to get involved? I mean, what are the top 3 ways that?
What a great question.
I love that.
Let me chime in on that if I can for a minute. Please forgive me, but let me chime in on that.
I just want to say one thing. I thought this was supposed to be multiple choice questions. I wasn't prepared for all these essay answers.
We like to shake it up around here.
The fact of the matter is this: if you're a person who is committed to this industry, working in various capacities in this industry, whether it's direct in the retail or in the support of the franchise system, selling various products, buying paper as a banker, or whatever it might be, if you care about your livelihood and you care about this industry, then you are obligated to get engaged. This is all-out war against the franchise system. So what does that mean specifically? It means take an active role in your trade associations nationwide. There's one of us in every state in the country. 2, put your money into the PAC funds. We all have political action committees. Some states allow you to give direct, some you have to give your own personal checks. But you're going to have to get involved in the election. Elections have consequences. Go to your annual meetings. Go to the gathering of dealerships. When they come together, talk about it. And this always hurts to hear it. If you don't have the right people running your association with the right level of enthusiasm, not my 2 buddies here today, and they are my buddies, but if you don't have the right person, then fire that individual and get someone who is committed, who has passed the line of departure, and no retreat is a word in the vocabulary. And let's join together as a unified body. We can accomplish anything as a unified body. We cannot do this stuff if we're on our own, or if some dealer says, well, I don't want to offend the manufacturer because I'm the chairman this year and
I'll help you offend them.
My store. Allow us to do our job. Come together, support us. Again, get involved. Whether you're a sales manager, F&I manager, a salesperson, it does not matter. Go to your dealer and say, I want to be involved because I've got 30 more years to be in this business and I give a damn. What can I
get
do?
involved? What a great thing.
Can I ask real quick, can I make a comment and then pose something and correct me if I'm wrong? Sometimes that happens. here's the thing. You have executive level decision makers in dealerships, and then you have influencers, and sometimes they're combined, but most often they're not, right? This is how products are sold. This is why reps are very young and coming in, because you essentially have lobbyists coming through. And yet I work with hundreds of dealerships across the country, and I'm never invited to an association meeting, not to learn, not to present, not to be a part of. And yet I have a massive audience. I'm an influencer. And I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm so cool, I'm an influencer. I'm saying I'm an influencer in my industry. I would love to fight to help every dealership stand up for every right they have and do it. But I do it on a very small platform in that way because those invites aren't readily available. Keeping in mind that there's dealers and influencers. Are you guys doing that in your states? Are you bringing in the younger crowd from your dealership or the consultants that are out there that are actually true partners with these dealers? They make
what a
decisions
great
based on what we
question,
talk
Bobby.
about.
Bobby, I've attended a number of dealer association meetings, and it was
I
all
have as a guest of the
it was
dealer.
all the old guard.
Yeah.
We got to get the young and up and coming people in the business more involved in the associations.
We
You
do.
know, Jim, one thing that a lot of our peers have done is they've started what's called a next gen group or a future leaders group or a young dealer group. And we've had one for several years, and it's very important. But to sort of add more on to what Dawn was saying is, if you want to do one thing, April, contact your local legislator on behalf of the auto industry. That's the key point. I mean, they need to hear from you. If you're a dealer, if you're an F&I person, if you're a sales manager, one of the biggest challenges we run into from a dealership point of view, Jim, is this. We know the dealers, and the dealers will make calls, and the dealers will send in pack checks. We need the next level of professional, that person who still has 30 years left to work. We need that person to make a call, make a pack contribution, to be engaged. That's the biggest challenge that
Bob
and I have.
Bob, I'm teaching.
You guys need to create a form of that. That's not called next generation leaders. We hate that, and it forces us not to join it. Just so you guys know.
I'm teaching a class at Northwood University, and I've got 35 dealer sons, daughters, and hopeful industry people in there. I see the next generation; they're out there, but
and they'll fight.
I think we need to put more pressure on the national organization. I think every dealer out there needs to press the NADA to get more involved and stop worrying about the manufacturer meetings at the convention and the big ass displays at the convention.
Especially when it comes to legislation, I think that it pushing from the top down makes it easy on people, right? Like how many people in the car business who've been in the business a long time don't understand that their livelihood's on the line, how to get involved, who do they reach out to, who do they send a letter to, how do they even talk to legislation and say, hey, I care, what do I need to do? So they need to push something out, some kind of education to people to say, here's the address, here's the phone number, here's where you send it to, and help bring people together to push that direction.
Jim, Mike Alford is a current NADA chairman from North Carolina, a wonderful man. He's got a dealership in Jacksonville, North Carolina, New Bern, North Carolina. Mike Stanton, of course, is the president of NADA. I believe, and we're meeting with Mike, all three of us are meeting with Mike in July. I believe that NADA is properly positioned today, circa today, to help us with this fight. I think they get the message with Mike Alford's leadership out of North Carolina and with Mike Stanton's leadership as our counterpart running NADA.
So you're pretty confident that NADA is going to hit the battlefield and join in.
Until I see otherwise, Jim, I give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that Mike Stanton made a speech recently in front of all of my dealers in Virginia and made it very clear that NADA gets the message and they are engaged and will provide the resources that we all need in the states, and to make sure that Bobby and others are communicated with to understand we need everybody being a player. As Bob Glaser just said, everybody writing legislators, because in Virginia, there are 60-some thousand people that are in the auto industry, but not all 60,000 work in dealerships. There are folks that support our industry as well that live in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Absolutely. Every day is an interview, right? Whether you're an employee, whether you're somebody trying to pass a law, every day is an interview. And the easier the message goes out to people to understand what they don't, the harder that they can fight and share a message in the correct way, in the communicative form that it needs to be.
Yeah.
Right? But this generation isn't reading 27 pages of information they're consuming through video and content. And you guys have a real opportunity to reach them with such a great message.
Well, you know, Bobby, one of the things that in my, like, I have been around as long as Dawn, I've been 27 years, but one of the things that I see among several of my peers is we become the victim of our own success. And the reason being is for 25 years, we've passed franchise bills every other year. And a lot of our younger members see us and they go, well, you know, I don't need to worry about it because NCAA or VADA will take care of it. Well, now's the time that's not the case. Now's the time that you need to be involved. You need to contact your association. You need to contact the CEO. You need to say, how can I help? You got to lean forward now. It's the time.
We need to see Frank McCarthy's NADA return. That's what I'm looking for.
Give Mike Stanton an opportunity. He understands the principle of leading from the front. He's heard it over and over again. I believe we lead from the front, which means you can be shot at, which means people can say negative things about you. It's not always popular, but that's how you advance, is leading from the front. And I think Stanton wants to do it in NADA. And more importantly, I can tell you that Bob O from Massachusetts and Bob from North Carolina and Don Hall from Virginia are leading from the front with some of our other peers. And so reach out, as Bob said. Send me an email. Send them an email and say, hey, I work in your state. I work in a dealership, or I support dealerships. How can we be involved? I would love nothing more than be overwhelmed with contacts saying, how can we help you in 23? We want to be down there talking to legislators. Oh, by the way, I went to college with them, high school with them. I go to their synagogue. I go to their church. I'm in their community. I know them. That's the stuff that will advance the ball. And the OEMs cannot play us in this game. They cannot beat us in this game if we're unified.
Farley has already separated Ford into two corporations. I mean, that horse is out of the barn.
And when you talk to our Ford dealers who were presented with that scenario, they spoke vociferously against it. And I think you need that nationwide from all the Ford dealers, not just the couple that are going to sit on top because they've got 3 or 4 stores, or they're in a group of 20 stores. You've got to make sure that everyone is united from each franchisee group down to fight those types of plans. But I believe Bob Okanuski. I just want to add.
I believe.
Okay, boys, take turns.
I'm not going to shut you down, Bob. I'm going to just make a statement and let you expand on it. I believe some of the big dealers have been promised concessions by the manufacturers to go along with it, and they've become bell cows for the other dealers that are thinking it's a good thing. And are the dealer councils really serving the dealer body? Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I was going to get into that because,
okay.
Well, seriously, but when you look at our dealer group, and I don't know how it is in Virginia and North Carolina, but I would imagine it's close to the same.
They got running water and indoor plumbing down there too.
An occasional magazine. We do know how to read.
Nobody reads magazines.
Magazines, books.
You guys need us.
But most of when you look at our board of directors, when you look at our dealer body, most of them are the small one rooftop, 2 rooftops. That's the predominance of our dealer body throughout the state. Sure, you have some dealer groups. We have the One Public of Group 1 that operates here. But when you start looking at other states where the more predominance of the smaller stores getting bought out, when you look at an Arizona that's dominated by the Publix, it's easy to have these sites that the OEMs might have that, we'll pick off those states, we'll make some promises and move on, and everyone else can flounder. I just want to add one thing about NADA. I think you need to give them a chance. I think it's a giant bureaucracy that maybe has some Vichy French still in it. And I think Mike is a fine Jesuit lad, as am I, and we need to be given a chance to take these OEMs down.
Did you just say lad?
As opposed to the rear. And
fine Jesuit lad.
I think he's got the gumption and the commitment to do that. And I think he's got people that he trusts behind him on the board to do that. But time will tell. quite frankly. You know, he's only been in there a very short period of time. I think he's sending the right messages. I think he is leading from the front, not like others who like to lead from behind. We have a very strong NADA director here in Massachusetts, and we'll see what happens. But you know, for now, those are the cards we're dealing with. You know, moving forward, you know, I always say this, every story every movie, every book, you know, it's really based on the Bible, Shakespeare, and mythology, right? And oftentimes you see the conflict internally. You see the family members taking out the other family members. And that's how I picture these OEMs right now. You know, they're trained to look at the bottom line, and all they see is revenue and bottom line. They don't see the consumer. They don't see the customer satisfaction. They like to raise that with dealers. Well, you're not meeting your CSI numbers, so we're gonna slap you around a little bit. But they don't have a clue what the consumer's looking for. They don't have a clue how the consumer's happy. You know, you've got these execs who see the Teslas of the world. It's taken them 10 years to make the money he's making. 10 years.
Yeah, well,
right?
Farley believes he's got a handle on it, but I got to remind Farley, hey, Farley, weren't you the CEO of Scion? Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Well, you know, the other thing to Bob's point is, if you look at Tesla, I mean, the comments that Elon Musk is making right now about burning through cash and the inability, he's even talking about bankruptcy as a possibility of Tesla cars. They're just burning through cash. It's hard to compete with Ford and General Motors. And I think the industry's catching up to that. You know, so you know, to be Tesla is not always a good thing right now.
Jim,
So
once
I'm
again,
20
disenfranchising the
I'm
deal.
20 plus years in the business. I'm 41. I'm not 20, right? So I've got some skin in the game.
I thought you just had your 29th birthday.
She's
You plus 5,000 points for you. So, but here's the thing, like, you think about this for a minute, and I won't pretend to know the things that you guys know. I don't. That's why I wanted to hear you today. What I will say is, when somebody's going into an OEM, whether it's they're selling them on something, right? They're sending their top sales PR professionals in to get OEMs to do everything, and they're closing them on it. I just look at that and go, it can't be more important than it is right now for your best closers, for your people who relate the most, to be in there feeding that same ear. We see it every day, even through like technology that gets sold to OEMs and approved. And I get it, that's different, right? But a top PR professional went in, got those funds, and customer service isn't mattering because that's why, you know, they went in there and they sold it that way. And I just wonder if that's happening on this side too. I don't know the answer. So I'm curious, do you have packs of influencers and lobbyists that are teaching you how to communicate with those people that are bringing them up?
Yeah. Look, I think I'll answer Bobby a question in a roundabout way. We talk about dealers taking on and saying to the OEMs, look, the truth is, I don't think there's a conspiracy, nor have I ever thought there was a conspiracy. What I do think is there are dealers who are gladiators who believe they'll be last person standing, and they're just going to continue doing business as they interpret business should be, and they'll be last person standing. They don't have a deal cut. But we ought not to expect dealers to lead with their chin on these fights, because there is persecution, there is discrimination that goes on with OEMs, with dealers. What you have are people like myself and the Bobs.
Yeah.
And our job is to go out and say the things that are not popular, say the things that OEMs don't want to hear, and then go to the legislature and pass those bills and say, we'll see you in court if you want to fight us. Let's go to court. It's not fair to put dealers out there and push them out there and expect them to get that kind of barrage of negative. You can't hurt me. And so at the end of the day, support your association. I'm reminded, I just finished my convention with 450 dealers from Virginia. And Andy Budd from Country Chevrolet stood up and said, I'm going to give a check right now for $10,000 to the PAC Fund. Well, the issue is, I'd love to tell you that 100 other people stood up and said, I'll give 10, I'll give 15, I'll give 20, I'll give the association what it needs to win these fights. It didn't happen. Now we're going to push it. But this is money matters in these fights, and it does.
Okay.
And then we
You
have
need a better marketing campaign.
To prevail. I'm sorry, Bobby, go ahead.
You need a strong marketing campaign that's reaching your influencers, that's reaching your dealers that are doing it. And I don't mean the old school, and I'm not implying that you guys are doing that. I've not seen one, but that would be a good place to start through utilizing video through utilizing social media, TikTok channels to get the attention of people and give this information out.
What
then
Bobby's
prompt them with
saying is
that.
true.
The algorithm is strong.
We need
and
to get
cheap.
down to the lower levels. Most of the dealer association correspondences are staying at the high level.
Amen. It shouldn't be, but you're right.
Yeah,
They
it's
don't
not
have the
filtering
email.
down. April, you're the only person in the broadcast actually working in dealerships. How many state association or national association directives have fallen on your desk? Zero.
And that was my point in asking the question, why the communication to all of us that have a massive skin in the game. This is our livelihood, our career, and we don't know how to get involved. The average person working in a car dealer today doesn't know how to get involved. I would be so blunt as to say the average person making their living in a car dealership doesn't even know what NADA is, or what the individual state associations are, their role, and how to get involved.
So that's just stuff for the dealer. That's just stuff for the dealer and the general manager. That's not
Jim, let me speak to that. April, thank you. God bless you, and thank you for that comment. Historically, we've done this with our board of directors. We passed, as Bob said, 20 years of great bills with our dealer boards and small groups. We could do that. The fight with the agency model is different. We need shock and awe. As a former Marine, I will tell you, I know what shock and awe looks like. We need shock and awe. We need 1,000 people at our legislatures from the dealership that are techs, that are detail people, that are F&I people, sales people, office people. We need shock and awe if you care about the industry. We're not very good at knowing how to communicate with the masses. We're great with our boards, and we're great with those 100, in my case, 140 elected officials in the General Assembly, but we don't know how to get it out to the masses. And then I have some dealers that say, look, don't mess with my people. We're busy selling cars. We're busy cleaning cars. Don't mess with my people.
We don't have to. We can use algorithms. No, we can use algorithms to make subliminal messaging and automation, make it feel like it's somebody's idea. We do it every day in every product that you look at. So if you need help with that, I volunteer to help you with that.
For you to have a future and people like yourself to have a future and Robin to have a future and people like herself to have a future, we need to figure this out, check the egos at the door and help us, because we need the masses to hear our message. And then
we got masses on this broadcast right now.
Yeah, I have a
this
massive
broadcast
audience.
Reaches a lot of people.
I have a massive audience, and I'm in and out of dealerships all the time. And so is the tribe that I surround myself with, because like you guys, the people we surround ourselves with, they look like us. We stand on stages. I do operations for dealerships I don't even work with that call me on a question that sometimes I have to say, whoa, I'm not the best person for that. We really do have the ability to get it out there, and I think it's important. So
absolutely, and it can.
I'll volunteer as tribute.
I mean, think about the millions of people that are impacted in the dealership. You don't need the dealer principal giving you a check for 10 grand. You need every one of them giving you $5. You need every one of them giving you $10. You need every one of them hitting a text message on their cell phone that says, "Do you vote this way? Click this button and it goes to your legislator. Sign this petition with one click, one signature." Those are the things that need to happen to actually create that shock and awe. And it's not that difficult, right? Everyone else does it.
It's easy.
Robin, I will tell you, and Bob will tell you this is absolute truth. If we had thousands of people from dealerships reaching out to our legislators in 23, would it make the outcome what we need it to be and want it to be? But we haven't figured out, I have not figured out how to get the masses in the dealerships to get involved and get engaged. But this is one time in their life they should, and we care. So we need your help. And this is where you can help us do our job to make sure that we have the outcome we want, which is consumers having the right to choose where they want to do business and how they want to do business. Don,
this show has a mammoth audience. Not on the live show we're doing right now. The replays on this will get thousands and thousands. Bobby does all my SEO on this show, and I'm going to tell you what, my private website got 145,000 views last month. You've got an audience right now.
That was only because you were homesick. Hitting the clipboard.
We do things from everywhere. You know, guys, I would tell you, like, while we have this audience, at the end of the show, because we're going to end shortly, please make sure you share where anybody watching can get more information from you, or how they can contact you, or where they can see this stuff. And I would heavily encourage you to start to share the information in the way that people are consuming it, which is video. It is short-lived moments. It is algorithms and marketing. And there's an audience for everything, right? For everything. And it's easy to find. We track everything. So we can definitely help you with that. And anybody really can when it comes to marketing. But when it comes to communication, that's what needs to get out there. And it needs to get out in a way that people understand it.
Have we adequately
I would just add
explained?
one thing. April
go
was
ahead.
making a point, and I would just say, every communication we put out says something to the effect. If you want to get involved, here's a phone number, here's an email, and there's some follow up, and but it's really on the dealer, the leadership at the dealerships to take up the offer too. You can only do so much trying to herd those cats, but they also want to. We've had a long tradition of everyone who buys a car is not necessarily of my mindset, right? So we sell to Republicans, we sell to Democrats, we sell to independents, we sell to Green Party types. So there's a long history of not wanting to necessarily get involved because we sell cars to everyone, and we don't want to necessarily show any type of colors, right? When it comes down to these political fights, I just think it's the manufacturers not only hold the dealers in low regard, they hold the consumer in low regard, because when they're taking on
Yes, they
dealers,
do.
they're taking a war on the consumer, right? I know consumers who are heavily into Amazon and do the whole ordering online and having the deliveries to the house. But for every one of them, I know 10 people who are at the dealership, who are at the mall, who are at the strip mall, who are buying, face on to the product. So yes, there is some element of pre-ordering. There is some element of wanting to do it online. But I think that the consumer, for the second most expensive purchase one is going to make in their life, other than maybe their second, third, or fourth ex-wife, they want to do it at the
or ex-husband. Let's pull it together, Okanowski.
They want to see what they're getting themselves into, right? They don't necessarily are. I see these Carvana ads and I laugh hilariously, because I don't know anyone who's buying a car over the computer screen and it's getting dropped off in front of their house the next day and they're happy with it. I just don't know.
It's not the buying though, guys. That's the thing. We always do this. We always do this with everything. We overall it.
But it's
we say things like they don't want to buy online. No, they want all of their stuff, all of their conveniences handled online, and then they want to come in and buy from you. And those are not the same thing. Research and sale. And
I want to go back to the root problem. Does everybody watching this broadcast understand what the problems are? The
root problem is greed.
The manufacturers selling directly to the public. Can the manufacturers sell directly to the public and totally eliminate their franchise dealers? Are the manufacturers moving to eliminate their franchise dealers? Farley's playing it close. No, we're not. No, we're not. Yes, you are. Excuse me.
Jim,
my opinion.
I don't think you got.
If you guys don't donate and stand up for yourself, they can. Watch it happen.
You're talking about the bottom. The bottom line is greed. It all comes down to money.
Bottom line is greed. That's one of them. Now the other one's built to order. The public is not going to wait. I know dealers right now that have orders for Ford Broncos that are 1 year and not still delivered, factory orders. And the dealer across town got one identical to it, identically equipped, a standard allocation. So in other words, the manufacturers can't do built to order. You're bad at it. You suck at it. Excuse me. Ford especially, General Motors second especially. You're bad at it.
Why do they do it? They do it because they think they can make the money. They think they're better.
They want to be Tesla.
And it won't. And so that's at the end of the day, that's why it'll never ever hit the finish line, in my opinion, even if it hits the finish line, because their greed is gonna have to say, never mind, our bad, we messed up, because greed will always win, in my opinion, and that's where it will be. They have to stop taking customer surveys as the end all be all as far as decision making goes.
Crying out loud, we tell them how to answer that stuff. The fact that anybody still trusts that shit blows my mind. Check Google. Let's get real.
Here's the one thing I want to say. buying a car has been expressed as like going to the dentist, right? Okay. If you go to a car dealership, it's like you get Novocaine. You want to go buy from the OVM, you're not even getting Novocaine. That's the example. Okay. At the end of the day, it may not be the greatest experience, but we're working on it, and we're always going to be better than the OEM is at selling cars.
They can't do built to order, April. They can't do it. They are incapable of doing it. Now,
Well, Jim, I also think, Jim, when you talk about some OEMs trying to reduce their footprint, if you have dealers who are selling your product and it doesn't cost you much to support that dealer, why would you want to reduce the number of dealers selling your product? If you want to sell more products, don't you want more people selling them? It doesn't cost an OEM much to support a dealer.
They don't get it. The manufacturers don't get it.
On this time, this single little piece of time right now, they're not looking at the big picture when they can start making production again. So they're making decisions right now based on this little tiny sliver and off these surveys that they're conducting. And that is where the problem lies, in my opinion. Plain and simple.
Okay, 4 minutes till showtime ends. Bob, let's go to Don Hall for a second. Don, we got 4 minutes left. What do we need to say that we haven't said?
You want to win the fight against the agency model. You want to prevail as a franchise system. It's all about shock and awe. Get involved. Put your money out there. Make sure your associations are properly directed. Elect people who want to serve. Get involved no matter what. Volunteer. Shock and awe. We can win, and we will win, and our system will be preserved for another 100 more years.
Don Hall, Virginia Auto Dealers Association. Bob Glaser, North Carolina Dealers Association. You got 3 minutes. What do you got?
Jim, I'd say this, and Don took my thunder there, but I'd say car dealers been selling cars for 100 years. We're going to be selling cars for the next 100 years.
Not according to Farley and Barra.
Going to be slightly different. We're going to be there. I remember the Salt Lake City Ford collection. I remember the Indianapolis.
We're dead meat.
It's not going to happen. We need to change. We need to adapt. But more importantly, we need to be involved with your local dealer association.
We haven't even talked about Mary Barra. She thinks you're dead meat too. You General Motors dealers, you're not immune. Oh, Okanuski, you got 2 minutes. What you got?
I would just say, going back in time to when Noah was taking a cover charge out of the Ark, it's all about the money. They see the type of money that dealers make over time. They see the type of money that Tesla's been reaping in. Is
that how you really feel about it? Tell us how you feel about it.
And they think that they can do better. That's what it comes down to.
They're modeling after Carvana, for heaven's sake. Carvana's in the toilet. Vroom is deeper.
We just got to make sure that between us pushing our legislators, using our customers to keep pushing our quality and our excellence in the community, and that's going to keep us going.
Okay, April, what you got? 1 minute.
So like these guys said, at the end of the day, they haven't done necessarily the greatest job of getting down to the core. So all of you who are watching this, who don't know who your local people are, get on Google, find them, and let's start being the voice from the ground up.
I saved you for last because Bobby can't. Bobby, can you do it in 1 minute?
What happens when you guys don't give us this stuff?
I can try. Yeah, I can try.
Bobby, can you do it in 1 minute? 1 minute, Bobby.
Yes. All right, people. I'm going to take you a step further. I want you to do what April said. But then I want you to research what it is that is attached to each one of those bills and those laws that's getting passed and support what you need to for your career and what you're in. There's a lot of single issue voters happening right now. If you have questions, ask these people. Get out there and ask. The only person that can create change and make it stick is you. So unless you want to sit by the sidelines and let somebody else choose for you, which seems to be happening a lot around these parts right now, I suggest you get out there and get educated.
Get involved.
And get involved at all levels. And I'm going to say something else. Join the 20 group. Join a 20 group. Nichols Campbell or NADA. I don't care which one. Nichols Campbell Memorial, NADA. Join a 20 group. Start fraternizing and sororitizing with other dealers.
I'm going to start a We Rock Auto campaign this week. I just bought WeRockAuto.com, and I'll give anybody a chance to let me help them create a change in this effectively.
What'd you say, Bob?
All I said was you have multi-million-dollar investments, sitting right there. Get involved if you want to protect it.
Get involved with the NADA. Did I say that? Okay, now, Hall, you got me to say I have been adamantly against NADA for ever since Peter got in there. But I'll tell you what, we got a new regime at NADA. I'll support NADA.
Jim, I think you're exactly right. Give NADA a chance. Mike Stanton will do a great job for us.
I'll give
Mike,
NADA
get out there to our
a chance.
generation.
I got 175,000 people on social media, and most of them car people that I'm influencing, and I have been adamantly against NADA. But if you're saying, if 3 friends of mine on this show are telling me to support NADA, I'll give it a shot.
Right. I don't even know the old guy. You got a whole new interview in front of me.
Okay, everybody wave bye to the public.